This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining on this rainy, dreary Friday. But as our fire chief has said, it's still Friday, so we'll take that. Thank you for joining us in our Community Leadership Forum. And I must tell you that there are some weeks when it feels like we haven't talked in a month, but I know it's only been a week, so that tells you the kind of week it's been. And unfortunately, Megan, that's the best segue I can give you for our COVID-19 update. So I will turn it over to the town of Harwich's Public Health Director, Megan Eldridge, for our weekly COVID-19 update. Megan?
Thanks, Joe. Hi, everybody. So we still remain in that surge that we talked about last week, and it's very, very evident with the hospitalization rate and the number of cases, deaths. The numbers that we have in long-term care facilities is going up, and that's really a function of the testing program that the state has put in place. They are offering the service of the National Guard to go to long-term care facilities and collect tests from residents as well as staff. And they're conducting thousands of tests a day in long-term care facilities. So over the next week or so, you'll probably see more cases, bigger numbers because of that effort. For example, our state numbers went up quite a bit over the last 24 hours, but by almost 3,100 new cases in the last 24 hours. So we have 46,023 cases in Massachusetts, but 714 of those cases came from long-term care facilities. So that's where you see that extra almost 1,000 person jump. And that also holds true with the number of fatalities. We have a total of 2,360 confirmed deaths in the Commonwealth from COVID-19, and that is 178 new deaths in 24 hours. But again, 111 of those came from long-term care facilities. So the average age of the person who contracts COVID-19 or tests positive for it is lower. It's at 54 right now, is the average age. However, the fatality rate or the average age for fatalities is in the 80s. So we are continuing to see what we already know, what we thought was it could be a widespread community disease, mostly affecting the elderly and those with underlying health conditions. Barnstable County, we have 708 cases in the county with a total of 28 deaths. And in Harwich, we remain at 29 cases with 1 confirmed death. And that has gone unchanged now for 2 weeks, which is very impressive. I'm very, very happy with that statistic. A note on case reporting, the long-term care facilities are now going to be reported a little bit differently as they were in the last couple of weeks. Long-term care residents have an address that might not be in the town that their long-term care facility is in. For instance, we have a Harwich resident who is in a long-term care facility in a different town. So if that resident tests positive, in the past, Harwich would see that as a positive case. But going forward, they're looking at doing more cluster testing, and that would change some of the reporting guidelines and reporting statistics that people will see. So it might be a little difficult to follow because I believe they're going to have those test results in the town that the facility is in. So for instance, the town of Brewster has a long-term care facility that has more than 30 patients testing positive. So it looks like the whole town of Brewster has quite a few cases when in fact it's a cluster at a long-term care facility. So it's just another one of my notes on testing and case reporting where the numbers can be looked at in different ways, and we don't want to alarm the public by seeing a large number in one place. And it's still very important to maintain social distancing and proper hand washing, and the CDC is recommending cloth face coverings for people when they're out in public. And that I want to hammer home is it's a protective measure for other people. So it's a nice neighborly thing to do, to wear your face covering when you're out in public to protect other people. And it's not a law, it's not a ordinance or regulation to do so, but the Board of Health strongly urges people to wear their face coverings when they're out at the grocery store or the park, or where they can't maintain 6 feet away from everybody. That is my update for public health.
Thanks, Megan. I appreciate that. As Megan mentioned regarding peak week, Megan and I and other staff members have been working on the town's response and eventually coming out of peak week surge. So this evening's Board of Selectmen, I will be updating the board on guidance document number 12, which will be released this evening and will be put into effect on Monday. I'm not at liberty to get into that, but it is somewhat of a positive step based on where we're at with peak week and everything else. So more to come on that. I saw Chairman of the Board, Larry Ballantyne, on video. Larry, I don't see you, so I'm not sure if you're having video issues, but if you want to do follow up next, boss, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. Unfortunately, I can see myself, and that's it. But thanks, Joe, for organizing this. I'm really impressed of our leadership, our community forum of leaders in town. I think this is the largest group we've had join us on this Friday afternoon meeting. Just a personal observation, looking around on national news, I think that Massachusetts in general and county and local governments have done a great job of promoting safety without going to extremes that we read in some other areas. My concern at the moment is that we continue that discussion, and for fear of that, how long we can keep the cap on, that people still follow the rules. And to the extent that we follow what we're doing and explain why we're doing things, give them all the information they have, we're in good shape. So thanks again for joining, and this sharing of information is really vital. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Larry. At this point, I'd like to open it up to Chris Menard from the Family Food Pantry based here in Harwich. Chris, if there's anything you'd like to add or offer, please go right ahead. And *6 if you're on the phone. All right, Chris, not sure if there's technical difficulties there. So at this point, I'll turn it over first to our public safety chiefs, Fire Chief Norm Clark. Chief Clark, if you have anything you want to add or offer at this point, please go ahead.
We just continue to serve the best we can. We don't have any firefighters now that have been exposed without PPE on. We meet conference call every week, every Friday at 10 with all the Cape chiefs, and there are a couple of fire departments with firefighters that are out quarantined. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but this is an interesting case. I found that there was one firefighter that was exposed, and he tested 6 consecutive times positive. This week he finally tested negative. So that certainly is just an interesting point. That is it's the only one I've ever heard of like that. But this is a kind of a funny virus, and there are many that don't show any symptoms at all. But we continue to go, and I see my friend Dave Gomet here. We work closely with the police on this, and our job has changed. But you know, I give all of the folks out in the field credit. One thing that we've done to help the community, which has been kind of neat, I'm not sure there's a couple of young folks, and actually one older person in town that got a drive-by birthday party. I think after the results, they're not going to want to have a regular birthday party ever again. But I know that they have reached out, I know, to the police department. I'll just show you this. I don't know if you can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Right there.
That's great, Chief.
That's what it's all about. So we're going to keep on doing what we're doing and get an occasional card from a young guy, and it's all worth it. We'll get there. I'm hoping we're going to get there sooner than later, but we'll get there. So that's all I have to report to the folks, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Chief Clark. At this point, I'll turn it over to our colleague. We're joined by our police chief, Chief Gilmet. If you have anything you'd like to offer, go right ahead, please.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Chief Clark. Again, want to let everybody know that the PD is fully staffed and operational. Obviously, we're making some modifications, as the chief alluded to try and limit our officers' exposure to the public, especially to potentially active cases of the virus. And we truly appreciate, our brothers and sisters at the FD for supporting those efforts and keeping us all safe. I was on a conference call yesterday with about 178 other police chiefs from across the state, and Tom Turco, the Secretary of Public Safety, was on the call. And I can assure everyone that we have tremendous support coming out of the state, out of MEMA, and pretty much they have pledged to, continue that support and get us what we need. So that was very encouraging. And the other aspect of that that I found encouraging was, of all those chiefs, we're all dealing with the same surreal challenges of this public safety, public health crisis that none of us have ever faced before. So it's good to hear how other chiefs and departments are doing things. And it was reassuring that we're not an outlier. We're certainly doing everything we can to keep our people safe, keep the community safe, and do the right thing. So, knock on wood, as Chief Clark alluded to, it's similar in the PD. All our officers are healthy, and, I'm extremely proud of them going out there every day and doing the job under these circumstances, which is extremely stressful for everybody. So I'll stay on in case anybody has any questions.
Great. Thank you, Chief Gilmet. I appreciate that. I see that we're joined today by and I apologize if I'm pronouncing the last name incorrectly, but we have Patricia Nadel, CEO of Out-of-Cape Health Services. Patricia, if you'd like to offer any insights, the floor is yours.
Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting us to the call. Just to update, we're doing testing at 2 of our sites and using the Hyannis site. I think to Megan's point, we're seeing more folks arriving that fall into the category for testing, irregardless of the nursing home issues that we're seeing pop up in front of us. So we're seeing more folks for testing. We're anticipating testing to actually double based on some of the initiatives that are rolling out across the state. The good news is we have supplies, and we have supplies from varieties of folks, whether it's MEMA, whether it's donations, whether it's through our own vendors. So we've got ample supplies, which is a constant question that we get, and that we have ample testing supplies. We work with Quest, and they have committed to us to keep replenishing our supplies as we use them. So far things are working fairly well. We are doing, the majority of our visits are still by telehealth. We are now beginning to encourage folks to consider coming to the health center so we can actually see you face to face. Some visits just can't happen on the telephone correctly. So we're kind of moving in that direction in these next, starting next week. So far, so good. Everybody is, the staff is safe, they're well, and I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
All right, we'll reserve the right to go back to questions, but thank you for the update and thanks for joining us.
Joe?
Yep.
It's Elizabeth Harder.
Elizabeth, good afternoon. What can we do?
Hi, I have a question for Patricia. I read this morning you're going to start doing contact tracing, and I'm wondering how that's going to work and if you'll need volunteers.
Well, thank you. I think we've heard a lot of, we've actually gotten a lot of offers for volunteering this morning. We have a contract with our Mass League. It's our trade agency across the Cape. There's about 38 to 50 health centers participating. Partners in Health started this initiative with the Commonwealth. They thought that rather than just hire folks to do cold calling across the region is to, they've had their best results working with health centers who know their communities and know the resources that are available to folks should they need them. So they reached out to us. We're the only health center on the Cape right now that's doing testing. We've been doing it since the beginning. One of the two prerequisites is that we could mobilize a group of folks who will do the calls and as well as help folks get the services they need through our navigator programs, and then continue to follow up with their contacts. So right now we brought about 10 people back off of, back into reemployment, which is great. And we're going to start training on Monday. We're going to do a wait and see. So right now we're going to sit for a bit with the folks we have. Thank you again for your offer, but stay tuned. But because we just don't know how this is going to, increase. So we're just going to take it day by day. So 3 days of training starts Monday, and we're going to see how it rolls out. They're very specific. Partners in Health has a very specific set of requirements in terms of including the scripts. So it's a matter of our folks learning what the scripts are and what to do during and after the call. So we're all new at this, so we'll see how this plays out. But we're one of the first 10 health centers in the state that are signed up to start this initiative. And we are just really going to serve the 10 towns that we serve across the outer and lower Cape rather than, be a Cape-wide initiative or anything like that. So stay tuned. So thank you for your offer, but, we may take you up on it. We just want to make sure we know what we're doing starting Monday, because there's a lot more questions right now than answers.
Thank you both for that. Try one more time. We have Chris Menard from Family Pantry. Chris, if you have anything you'd like to offer, I know you're on the phone, so if you want to *6 to unmute, we'd love to hear from you if you're available.
Hi, Joe.
Hi there.
There. I apparently didn't *6 correctly. The Family Pantry is here. We are open our regular hours. We are still curbside. We're going to be curbside for the foreseeable future. We are sending, for any organizations that might be on the phone, we are sending pallets out on Friday afternoons to specific organizations that request food to possibly hold in a common area for people who shouldn't or couldn't get out. If you think like a Council on Aging or someone like that. So if anybody is interested in that pallet product, they should give me a call at the pantry and we can help with that. And other than that, everything is going well. We have plenty of food. We have plenty of volunteers. So we're about to start week 9 of our new process. So far so good. And we just have a bunch of extraordinary people that are volunteers that are staying with us to help us stay in business. So far so good.
Chris, great to hear that and great update. Before I go on to anybody else, I know folks usually have some questions or offers. So if anybody has any questions or offers or anything for Chris Menard, go right ahead.
Quiet day today.
I'll say no news is good news. Thank you again,
amen,
Chris.
brother.
And thanks to you and the crew.
Pleasure.
Thank you. We're joined today by Kathleen Gilday, who is a representative of Congressman Keating's office. Kathleen, I didn't know if you had any information or if you had any questions for the group, but the floor is yours if you want to *6 and go right ahead.
We just want to thank for how hard they're working, and we're just really here to, check if everything's going in Harwich.
So on my end, that was a little bit garbled. Can you try that again, Kathleen?
Sure. It might just be because I'm on a computer instead of a phone. Yeah, we just want to thank everyone for how hard they're working. And we just want to check in and see how everyone's going in Harwich.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for tuning in so you can be part of the conversation and hear our updates. We appreciate that, and if you can certainly convey our thanks to Congressman Keating for having you be part of our calls and for his advocacy. We'd love for him to be aware of that, so thank you. And at this point, I know I haven't called on some other folks, but we've got some faith-based groups that are on the call. We've got some other government officials, and of course we have our business community. So I'll open it up for the rest of the group for either updates or questions for the previous speakers. Remember, if you're on the phone, you have to hit *6. If you're on the computer, you'd need to click on your microphone icon. So I'll open it up to the group at this point. Cindy, I see you talking, but I don't hear you talking.
Is this better?
Perfect. Go right ahead.
Excellent. Good. It's great to see everyone. Just wanted to let everyone know that the businesses that are open are still continuing the curbside. They, of course, just want the community to know that they're there, and they want everyone to visit them as safely as possible. Our website is updated with all the resources and who's doing business, restaurants, and others. So continue to look at our website as well as our Facebook. So those are the two things that we keep up on a daily basis. So please, if anyone has anything they'd like on that or in our newsletter, we have a newsletter that goes out weekly. It was going out bi-weekly, which was in the high 50% open rate, which was unbelievable. But we went down to once a week now, just because I wanted people to get the information, but not to feel inundated with everything. We're all living it, but this week's newsletter will have some warm and fuzziness to it, as well as all of the updates too. So please, if anyone needs anything from me, I'm available 24/7 as usual.
Thank you, Cindy. And I know I speak for everybody when I say warm and fuzzy is always welcome. Anybody else on the call that has any information or that has any questions, please go right ahead. All right, I will take that as my cue to wrap up this episode in just under a half hour, which I think is good. We've had some great updates, and I just realized that, and I don't know what to make of it, but this is our last Friday in April. My goodness, we've already depleted Fridays in April, and yet here we are. So that means we'll resume again Friday, May 1st at noontime. Thank you all very much for participating, and please continue the great work that you do on behalf of our town, and please stay well. Take care, everybody.